Good evening. Happy Monday. Thank you for joining me for a Make It Monday. Normally it's with Miss Sara, but Miss Sara is unavailable tonight, so I am going to fill in for her tonight. And I'm just going to kind of wait for everything to get started, and then we're going to jump right into our card. I hope everyone is having a great day and good start to their week. So I guess just trying to waiting for it to kind of catch up here a little bit. Oh, I suppose if I turn the screen on, maybe that would help. There we go. Okay. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and switch my card. We're going to go right over and get started. We're going to use some of the Alice release tonight. Let me see if I can get my screen. Hello, Shalana. How are you? We are going to use a little bit of the Alice release tonight to make a slimline card. We're going to jump straight in. I have the Looking Glass paper pad here, which is so fabulous. These are our older colors. I have not had a chance to swatch out the new colors. I just got them. But this is what the paper pad looks like. And I am going to use this tonight. So let's pull that piece of paper out. It is this one. First time you've gotten 3 notifications from 3 different channels. That's cool, Kate. That's good to know. Thank you. I love this one. I'm so sad I'm kind of cutting this piece up, so I'm going to have to look, but that's fine. Hi, Brandon. So here is my first piece, the piece of paper I'm going to use tonight. I'm just going to go ahead and cut this down. If I remember correctly, I don't have the exact measurements, but I'm making a slimline card. I think I need a little bit more because I remember her dress was just off a little bit here. And then this mushroom is kind of fun that you could save for something else. And then I'm going to go ahead and trim this down to 3.25, which is just going to cut off a little bit of that mushroom. And then we're going to cut it down to almost her feet. I am, Kelly. I am on Friday. So I am, well, hopefully still get a pre-recorded video done. I have not had a chance to do that yet, but that's my plan. I will be leaving on Thursday. So, okay, next up. Oh, I do have a small bundle. The bundle is the Looking Glass paper pad, the Queen of Hearts stencil, which we're using tonight, and the Red Rebellion glitter glaze. I do have that in the description box. But in the collection, I also have like the Full House stencil. I've only added one thing that's not other than like inks and stuff, and that's the glitter glaze lilac to my live tonight. The rest of it is all from the Alice collection. Thank you, Kelly. So we're going to use the Full House Mixed Media stencil. However, it's a 2-piece stencil. Like if you layer it on top, and then you would have all like the deck of cards. But we're just using this piece today. And if you notice, obviously, I already have this masked off. And we're going to do this right away because we want this to dry. And I just kind of played around with it. Like, do I want the hearts? I flipped it. I think it went this way, but I flipped it because I wanted the heart. I don't know why I did. I just flipped it. And then I'm just going to layer it on like here. I'm going to use my mat, and then I just have a piece of paper, Post-it note paper, and I'm going to go ahead and we're going to use this glitter glaze. Yeah, I'm not sure it may be because I don't have it's not my channel. I'm not sure. I don't know a lot about Restream. I don't know if I may have to go in and look and see if I have to give it permission. So thanks for letting me know, Kate. Not quite sure what's going on with the chat. Or it may not restream it. I might have to give it permission. I'll have to look. Okay. I guess I've never really paid attention to it before. So this is that Red Rebellion glitter glaze. And we're just going to kind of spritz it around. And it's this great red glitter glaze with these great purple, great hearts, Queen of Hearts. So I'm just going to spread it over just a little bit. Now, if you really wanted to, you could do more. than what I've done. I just did this top corner, and then you could let it dry and do some more. And I'm kind of doing it light. It's just so you kind of get the idea of it. And then tonight, I'm not going to do what I did. I do not, Shalana, because I think it's for the last 13 days of the month. So I would think maybe next week at the latest. I do not. Thank you. Hi, Jamie. I asked, but it was a couple weeks ago, and I don't remember what the answer was. I am sorry. So I'm just going to wipe that off. And then, oops, what I'm going to show you what I did. I'm not going to do all of them tonight. Tonight's going to, and I didn't fill my water bucket. So what I did is I'm going to peel this off. I'm not saving paper here. We had guests tonight that were here just until I went live. I'm just going to peel that off. And then if you look at this, yeah, we got them pretty hearts. But what I did, and I'm just going to do a few of them here. I went in with my pick tool, and I went in and I grabbed some of those glitter pieces, and I stuck them down. And I'll show you this. So I just went in and I took a piece, took that red glitter pieces, and I filled those in on the hearts. You know, I took my time. Now I used a lot more glitter glaze this time during the live than I did when I was taking my time, obviously, when I was making my sample for the preview and I just took them and used them to fill in so that I had more hearts around. Now I'm not going to do all of these. I'm going to do a couple more here just because then it will look kind of right. And that's kind of a nice way to use up these big chunky pieces. I mean, like I said, it might be a little, people might not want to do that. They might think that's a little tedious, but I thought it was kind of a fun way to add a couple extra hearts to my glitter. And I think you could even take one like this and you could probably just gently put it in. You know, I better do a couple. And we're going to just do a couple little hearts like this. I'll put one in here. And you could rearrange them so the hearts are right. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pour this in my little stencil pal thing here. I forgot to fill it with water, so good thing I had some watercolor so it could soak. Hi, April. Okay, and that is what we're going to do. So we're going to set this aside to dry, and through the magic television, hopefully I know where I put my one. I have one that is finished and dry through the magic. I have not cut this one down through the magic of television. This is what it looks like when it is dry. Okay, I want to do that part first. This might go fairly quickly tonight. I apologize if it does, but we're all good. All right, now I got a piece of Not Your Mama's that I cut down to A4 size, and I've got this layering stencil, which is the Queen of Hearts. There's 4 stencils. I'm going to go ahead and just grab one. And the biggest thing I know you have to do is make sure there's a little register in the corner. I'll show that to you in just a second here. And you'll need to make sure that it's always in the same spot. Okay. So I got a bunch of my Simon Hurley inks, and this is the longest part of our, here. So let's do our little register mark at the top. That will just help me make sure everything's lined up. And then what I did is I just kind of went in from the outside because that gives her face a little bit more shape. And then just lightly over the middle, because there's a lot of other layers that you don't need to do this a lot. But I wanted to give her face a little bit of roundness by doing that darker end. So, and that is what the front piece looks like. And then it's however order you want to do them next. I am doing this piece last, and I'll explain that here in a few minutes. So next, I'm going to do her. I don't know if it necessarily matters so much. I just kind of did what I wanted. I am going to do this piece next because this has her face, so it's easier to line up. Like I said, that registration mark is important. Get that lined up, and then you can get it on your card. I'm not using any pixie spray tonight. I don't think I really need it. We are going to need that a little bit yet. And then for her hair, I originally used Love Struck, but I'm going to switch to the Rosy Cheeks because I think my Love Struck, either my ink, my blending brush was a little dirty and I got a little more purple or something in it, or I did something wrong and I maybe re-inked it with the wrong color. So I'm going to go ahead and use Rosy Cheeks because she is the Queen of Hearts after all. And I just very carefully went, I don't remember if I did I did do her whole face because it is the Queen of Hearts. So I did the whole thing with this Rosy Cheeks because her lips, to me, I feel like if she's going to have red hair, she's going to have red eyebrows. And then she's got like red eyelashes and a red beauty mark. I mean, you could totally use pixie spray to keep this, from moving, but I don't think it's that super important. And then I'm going to take the Rosy Cheeks. We're pretty much done with that. And I'm going to grab my, I think I used Bee Sting because it's such a bright red. And because that's a Stellar ink, I just have to dab it lightly. Hi, Heather. And I'm going to use the Bee Sting on her lips and just do a little bit of blending. Actually, I'm going to use my blending brush for this. Just so that it darkens it up a little bit with a little shading, but I'm going very light-handed with it. This, like I said, I did a different color before, but I wanted her lips to be a little bit different color. And then I'm just doing it around the edges just to give it a little bit of shading. You may not even be able to tell really. I mean, it kind of depends. Like I said, when you go live, it's always different than when we got to put that back. We got to do the crown too. When you do it, when you're not live, you can really take your time and all that fun stuff. But, all right. So for her crown, I'm using Shooting Star. Make sure that register marks. It doesn't really, the crown isn't going to matter as much because it's a separate piece. I mean, you could move it so that it was one piece, but I'm going to fussy cut it out. So I'm okay with it being up here. I'll show you what I mean when we're done. And then what I did for that is to make it kind of more of a goldy color. I took a little bit of this cookie dough and I just kind of blended around the edges. And then of course, we're going to also do a little spray. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to wipe it off quick. This is the longest part, I promise, the whole stenciling. I'm going to put a little bit more, and then I'm going to quickly cover this up. I'm actually just going to use this piece of the stencil because I can wipe it off. And I'm just going to, I moved it, of course. So we'll line it back up. It lines up real easy. I'm just going to cover this part up. And I'm going to use my ornamental gold. I'm just going to spritz it right there and let that dry. So it'll be fine on my thing. I can just wipe that off quick on my little piece, my little cloth. Make sure I wipe this one off before I put it down. And then that can just sit and dry. It did overspray a little bit. I'm okay with that because, like I said, it's going to be fine. You could also just dab it a little bit to bring some of that up, but we're going to fussy, like I said, fussy cut it out. It's shiny. It's fine. You could also fussy cut out and then spray it, which is what I did with my sample. All right. So next, I don't want to do that one yet. I'm going to do that one last, and I'll tell you why that. So this is the next piece. This is the top of her hair. And so this is where you can see, you could do just an A2 card panel with this, and her crown would be up there and there'd be space, which it totally works. But I'm going to, like I said, we're going to fussy cut it. So we're going to line this up a little bit. We're going to grab that cookie dough quick for her ears. Just kind of make her ears. That's the one thing that's nice about a layering stencil is that you can do all the different pieces. And I think I did that a little darker, but that's okay. And then I'm going to grab my bee sting. We're going to go in and make the top of her head a little more red. So we got a little pink and a little red. I learned from last week. Remember last week I was using this and I dabbed it right on and it splotched because of this foam pad. It makes it kind of more. So I'm going to go ahead and just do a little bit on the edges. And then for some depth with this one, I'm going to go ahead and grab my Crowned Me ink. We're almost done with all of our colors here. And I'm going to just use that same small brush I used before and just do a little bit around the edges just to give her a little darkness. And that little bit of shading makes kind of a big difference. Just gives you a little bit of something depth. Okay. All right. So we got that done. Now watch. I mean, look at that little bit. Isn't that, I mean, it's real fun. I mean, like I said, you've got the pink down below, but I'm very liking the different color. I think my sample in the picture has a little bit more purple color. And then last but not least, we have her face. Now, you do need to be a little, oops, put that registration mark in the right spot. You do need to be a little bit careful with this because you've got your little contour lines in your nose. So I did use a little brush for that. And then when I was blending over her eyes are shut. Let me see if you can see this. If you look at her picture, she's got like her eyes are closed, kind of. So, and I'm following that along. I'm going to use some purple. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this. And we're going to do just a little bit of contouring. Do her a little bit of her nose. And then I'm going to learn from when I did my first card and just use a small blending brush to put the color on for her eyelashes. But what I also did was I took a little bit of the rosy cheeks in a brush and I added just a little bit to the top just to kind of give her some kind of redness, pink right there. And then this is the fun part. So it's going to have to take a little bit to dry, but we'll make it work. So I'm going to grab my little blending brush here and my Crown Me. And we're going to very carefully blend over her eyes and try not to get her nose. Like I said, I got her nose and my sample's a little bit purple. And then I'm going to do it after. We're going to actually line this back up and we're going to put our glitter glaze back on, okay? Actually, that's not true. We're going to be very careful. We're going to not do what I should have done one of these and I let it through the magic television, but I didn't because I was thinking I would do it after. So I'm going to grab a little bit of glitter glaze and we're just going to wipe it on and being very careful to not get it on our nose. I'm just going to go gentle. As smooth as I can get. And you could also use a paintbrush and just paint it on. Oh, thanks, Ellen. Yeah, I said I'm filling in for Sara tonight. It was kind of a rush. We had some company, and so our dinner plans got changed, which is fine. And they left, and I'm like, I have a good thing because I have to go live here in a few minutes. So then I'm gonna pull it up, and we're gonna show you what that looks like. Isn't that cool? Isn't that fun? And I will tell you that looks better than when I did it originally. So let me grab my little washcloth here. I'm just going to wipe off this glitter. All right. All right. So there's that. That is our queen. And then I'm going to go ahead and we're just going to fussy cut this. It doesn't take very long. You guys, I don't do a lot of fussy cutting, and I know you guys don't really want to watch me fussy cut. Oh, and I was going to show you, if you wanted to, after you were done, you could put the crown right at the top like this and then ink blend it over the top if you really wanted to. And that would, then it would be on the top of her head as a 1-layer card. But I decided I thought it would be fun to just kind of quick fussy cut it out. So I'm going to let this kind of dry for a minute so I don't accidentally touch that purple. And we're just going to cut around this. And I was very heavy-handed with my my gold. You could use ornament or gilded embossing powder if you really wanted to make it really, so it's very wet. You can see it's not dry as I'm cutting. So you kind of have to be careful if you don't let it dry all the way. And I could have set that with my heat tool, but it's okay. We'll make it work. We're going to cover some of that up too. Oh, I know. Isn't that, I wish I could too. I should have done blue. It would have been like totally 80s. But she is the Queen of Hearts, and she can, do whatever she wants, because if she doesn't, it's off with your head. All right. Now my fussy cutting is not the best, but it works. Okay. So we got our little crown here. Now it's got to sit and dry. And of course you can't really see the shimmer on camera as in person. Let's wipe this off here a little bit. And then I'm going to very carefully, we're going to cut this. And this isn't too hard to cut for a fussy cut either. I didn't even look to see if I had a heart die in my stash that would be close. I just decided I'm going to fussy cut it. It's straight lines. It's not much. You could cut right up against the edge if you really wanted to. Oh, thanks. Hi, Sam. Or hi, Samantha. How are you? I don't know if you ever go by Sam. I always think that in my head, but I know it's Samantha, but in my head, I just want to be like, hey, buddy, pal. So I apologize if you don't like that. I understand. Hi, Mama. How are you? Yeah, I thought, April, that would be fun too. I guess I just chose the purple because I was busy doing a bunch of stuff on Saturday and Sunday. And when I was kind of doing my card, I just took the inspiration right off the label. And I, did the purple. Okay, see, look, that was very fast. It didn't take very long at all. Okay, we're actually getting so close. This is going to maybe be a fast one, you guys. Hope that's okay. So let me move this out of the way. I'm going to let this dry a little bit longer. And what I'm going to do is show you, obviously, this is how I use the SVG. I'm trying to get my inks out of the way here. I use my SVG, and this is the Cheshire Adventure stamp set. And I cut out all of the images like I always do. And then I cut my little rectangles, and I have my Follow Your Curiosity. And then all I do is I take the little extra piece. I've already done this because I was already here. And I stick it right inside, and then I stamp it down and take it back up, and it's done. So I already have my sentiment already done. I figured while I was stamping one, I might as well stamp them all. Hi, Miss Penny. And then what I do is I just write the name of the sentiment at the bottom when there's multiple sentiments so that I can find it easily, and I know which is up and which is down. So when I come back to the stamp set, and I will just store them in some plastic baggies. Usually with the stamp set. This one, I have both of these stamp sets together in these little pockets. I just found these ones, these 4x6 ones, and I like that they can fit both. They just fit the two of them. So, all right. So, I'm trying to think what was next. Oh, so we're going to have an A2, or we're making a slimline card. You know me, I love slimline cards. So I got a piece of holly cardstock here. And then go ahead and just cut it down to 3 1/4. And then what I did, I'm not really good with measurements, especially with the small cutter. I just took these are one of those slimline card bases that we had in the store, but I don't know if they're still in stock, but it's 3 1/2 by 8 1/2. And I just, since it's 1/4 inch, I just eyeballed it and just kind of moved it over what I thought would be about 1/4 inch. And then I measured it like this. And I'm like, okay, that looks good to me. Okay, so that is our card base. And then we could do some fun inking. You could ink up the sides, things like that, make that a little darker on the edges, but most of it's going to be covered up. So what I did is I started kind of playing around with it, and I originally put my card in. Oh, see, this isn't going to be. So I got to cut this down a little bit. So that's where I said, I like to cut once, you know, so I like to measure and cut. Oh, get my blushes out over there. Let's grab my tool. We're going to cut a little bit more off. Cut a little bit off on each side. I'll cut a little bit of her dress off. I was trying to keep as much of the girl Alice is as I could. I'll cut a little bit more off this side too. Just a little trim. So we just see a little bit of this red. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Susan. I appreciate that. So I just kind of eyeballed it. Now this is where you can see some of my gems came off when I cut. So the glitter will come off when you cut it once it's dry. So if you don't want that, just be careful. This is my idea, that she is looking up at the Queen of Hearts, and and she's going, and the Queen of Hearts is okay. Thank you, Cindy. I wasn't 100% sure. It's been a while since I've ordered them. I love them. That the Queen of Hearts is kind of looking down upon her, and how she has her overall, and Alice is on her little path. Now, because I have that little bit of red up here, I want a little bit of red down here. And of course, my original card, I put my hearts up too high, and I didn't want to cover them. So we're going to trim a little bit off the bottom here. So my panel ends up being about, it's just under 3 1/4. So it's what, a 3 1/8 by 5 7/8. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and glue this down on our panel. It would make a fun bookmark. Yes, you're right. Yes, you would. Yes, it would. Especially if you have someone who's, and you give it to them with the book of on Alice in the Wonderland, or Alice the Looking Glass book, would be really fun. My grandfather, he had Wizard of Oz. I was going to say my grandfather was Wizard, but it was Wizard of Oz. And then we're going to put, this is why you have it dry. Okay. So we've got our Queen of Hearts. So I'm going to go ahead and use liquid glue since this is wet. So I'm being very careful with it and not touching where her face is. And we got some embellishing to do, which I think is kind of fun. All right. I'm going to go ahead and put this down. And I just put it down, so we've got a little bit of that red showing up at the top as well. I'm going to put my magnets down on her head here a little bit, just to kind of hold her in place. And then we got to find, where did I lose my crown to? Anyone see the crown? Where did it run off to? There it is. I'm going to check on this a little bit. It looks like it needs a little bit of fixing here on the edge. Okay. And you could pop up the crown. You could have popped up. I don't remember if on the original I popped her up. I don't think I did. I'm thinking I'm going to pop up the crown just a little bit. I think I had a small piece of foam tape here somewhere. I might have moved it. I had a bunch of stuff and I just pushed it all out of the way. Well, I've got these little tiny ones here. These are so old. I don't even know where these came from. So we'll pull those down. And put those down on there. And I will pull them off because I think it's fun to have a little bit of dimension. Another thing you could do with the SVGs is you could cut out multiple of the sentiments and stack them. Very simple. And that's a lot less than having to go through the die cut machine a billion times. If you wanted to stack them. And then I've got the sentiment here. We're going to go ahead and glue this down. And then I put it down here because I thought to follow your curiosity. That's what it says. And then this is dry enough. So I'm just going to flip it over very carefully, knowing where my wet part is. And we're just going to cut off her hair, which I think is funny because then it makes it look like, she really is She kind of reminds me of Wizard of Oz. The Oz, Great and Terrible. And then I'm going to very, very carefully add a little bit of tape runner just to make it a little easier. And then I'm going to use some glue. That was not the smartest thing. You know, use my, there we go. And then we'll use liquid glue because it's still wet. You know, if you don't want to do it when it's wet, you could have also put the glitter glaze on after you put your card all together if you were waiting to the end, like if you didn't have patience. But I did not want to line it back up this time. I should have, but I didn't. I did that the first time and I wasn't as happy with the results as I thought when I put it down this time. So we're going to put that down and then we're just going to line it up the best we can on our card base. Look at me putting it on a card base, you guys. I never put it on a card base. And we've got that, and then we've got a little bit of embellishing to do. So what I did is I grabbed the red shift gems, and I thought it would be fun to add a few here and there because, you know, the more red we can. And my favorite part to add one to was to her little beauty mark. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to put one right here for sure. I may have to fix these later, but I'm going to put 3 of them on her crown. And that gives me 4, but you need odd numbers, right? So we're going to do 5 and 6. And I'm going to do 7 and 8. And then we'll do 1 right down here, 9, to make it equal. And I'm going to just go ahead and pick these up and put them down. You could do anything you wanted. You could do more red hearts. If you had red hearts, you know, one of those little glitter red hearts on the top of her from the glitter glaze, you could pull one of those out and put it on her crown if you really wanted to. I'm going to do the red rubies because I want her to think like, even though she's the Queen of Hearts, she would be dripping. Yes, bling, bling, bling. She'd be dripping with jewels. We'll do that one and we'll do that one. And then we're going to go ahead and add this. Oh, well, you know me, I like to just kind of dab, dab, dab. And then one thing you can do is if you're not happy, oh, thank you. I think this stencil is, when I first saw it, well, first of all, I had to get it because my kids were in a play, and their friend was the Queen of Hearts. And so I have these scrap, and my daughter was a card, so I can use it for that. But I think it's kind of a fun way. I mean, you could totally do a mask it and make it and do it with different colors, and it could be the face in the, like, just do the face part and like greens with our fancy frame, and it could, you know, and then kind of just go, and it would be like the Wicked Witch or the mirror from Snow White. Or, you know, you did it without, if you were careful with the face, you could make it the Oz face. You know, like if you didn't do the under parts, you masked off that, and not necessarily did the lips but you could still do the lips in the heart. Just do it in greens. Because, you know, if he's speaking, and you could have that be the Wizard of Oz. So I have this. I don't have a whole lot more for you guys tonight. It's kind of early. I know it's only, you know, been 30 minutes. So let's see if we can make up something real quick. If that's okay with you guys. I had one other idea. I don't know what happened to my piece of paper, so I cannot show that to you, but I thought it would be fun. Oh, here's the acetate. I also thought it would have been fun to do this same idea of a card and foil the cards, but I really wanted to take my time, and I knew I could, and foil like the reds here, and these are white up here, and put them down. And I thought it would be really fun to be like, it's that she's overshadowing her cards trying to paint the roses. So I think that's what I want to do is I'm going to grab this holly cardstock and we're going to grab this stencil. No, I don't want the holly cardstock. I want another piece of Not Your Mama's because I'm not going to be able to finish this because it's not going to dry and I don't have any swap outs. But I am going to grab a piece of Not Your Mama's. Ooh, that's fun. An Alice tattoo. Okay, so here's our card. I'm going to put that off to the side before I touch her eyes. And we're going to do this painted rose here quick. I love this painted rose because it would work for a lot of things, including Beauty and the Beast, the rose for Beauty and the Beast. So I'm going to quick cut down this Not Your Mama's. But I thought for Alice, which is fun, is you could take this. We're going to do a little ink blending first. And I'm going to be very, very careful with it. But I'm going to mask. I'm going to mask it. And you'll get the idea. And I saw the Winnie the Pooh set. I don't have it off the top of my head. But there's the sentiment in there about you being stronger than you think you are and smarter, you know, and braver. And I think that is a great one that would work with this because Alice was braver than she thought she was. And she, you know, smarter, you know, it just took her some time to think. And just a small little piece right here. So we want to mask off the rose, of course. We're going to grab some green ink. I think I'm going to grab two colors here. I've got Overzealous, and if I can find it, as in Christopher says, 4. So let's quick blend this because, you know, the leaves have to be a different color. Now there's some intricate parts to this. So I'm going to kind of just hold it with my finger and then I'll go up like right here, these two parts right here. If you look, if you use pixie spray, it would stay down, but I'm just going to kind of hold it while I go around it. And then what I'll do is I'll just kind of dab it, if that makes sense, on those movable parts, and it will be just fine. And they won't shift as much. I mean, they may still shift a little bit, but you can always add some splatter or put the sentiment there. Okay, so we've got our what is this? Oh, Overzealous. And then let's grab our 4. I'm going to use a blending tool for this one. And like I said, this is a juicier ink pad. Let's just kind of go in and we're going to add a little color around the edges. Some nice little shading here and there. And then just because that gives it a little depth. I'm not being super careful, of course, because it is nature after all, and nature is not perfect. I'm just kind of, okay, so we got that. Now, what I think is fun, I'm going to wipe it off quick. Oops, being careful so that I don't move it. I'm going to grab these pieces and I'm going to flop them around. And we're going to very carefully do that same glitter glaze. I did not link this, but this is in the Alice collection. I believe the whole collection, it might all be there. And it's wet, so it's not, the ink is wet, so this paper isn't going to stick as well as it should, but we're going to make it work, okay? You just have to be careful. If I can get it to at least some of the plastic, it will stay and be just fine. I'm going to bend that back like that. We'll tear it off and we'll just put it back on. Small piece. There we go. Okay. All right. And then I'm going to go ahead and we're going to be careful again. We're going to take this glitter glaze and you could just use the scarlet. You could do this with any color, but I think what's fun about this, well, first, I think what we should do is take, I don't know if I have any. Grab this Minty Fresh. Okay. Normally you probably grab a gray, and I'm just going to do a little bit on the edges, just so we have the outside edges here, because remember they painted the roses red, right? Because they accidentally planted white ones, and she wanted red roses. So I'm just going to kind of peek. That's not, You know, this is a brand new brush here, but we're just kind of doing the edges just to give it some shadowy color. Like I said, this color is fine. Any color would work. Just to give it a little bit of shading. I'll show you. I'll come up close. You can kind of make that out, right? Like I said, you could do a light gray if you wanted to. This worked for me. And then we're going to go ahead and grab this Red Rebellion glitter glaze again, and my brush or my palette thing, and we're just going to kind of, and we're going to be kind of haphazard with it. Okay, because we're painting the roses red. It doesn't have to be perfect because it's going to, and that the fun part is because the glaze is kind of see-through, translucent, I guess would be is that the right word? You're going to see that it was white, and you get that idea about it for being Alice with the color. And you probably didn't have to do the inking around the edges, but I'm going to grab this and try to fill in a little bit more right here so it's a little bit thicker. You could have ink blended a little bit of red if you wanted to make that center part a little bit more red, but I think it's kind of a fun idea, the idea of that the roses were being painted. Okay. So let's see what happens. I didn't try this before, so this is totally a spur of the moment. I thought about it, but I didn't get it done. Let's wipe that part off. We're going to go ahead and reveal. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, go. And then when this dries, you're going to see that it's a little white underneath. And I think that's kind of fun for the Alice. Totally fun. I'm going to go ahead and peel off my little pieces of thing and stick this in my water here. So then I'm just going to set this aside to dry, and then I can add a sentiment here of some sort. We've got, Cheshire grins all around. You're entirely bonkers, but I'll always join you for tea, time for cake, and celebrating you. My world is much more curious with you in it, which is the one I like. So isn't that fun? I mean, and like I said, you could put that right above the top. You could put it here, a very basic, put it on some red. I can't do that, but I'm like, look at how fun this is. And it looks like a painted rose because it's white underneath. So we're just going to leave that. I am going to sign off a little early tonight. I hope that's okay with you guys because I still have a couple things to do. And then I got to get ready to do a video for you guys on Wednesday. But here is my card that I created tonight. And then another little idea with this. I hope Sara should be back with us next week. I hope those of you, like I said, Friday will be a pre-recorded video. I'm hoping to use the Flurry of Sky and the Winter Home set is my plan. I don't know if I'll be in the chat, but like I said, I appreciate you guys all so much. Have a great week, and I will see you live next week. Okay? Have a good night, everyone. Oh, you're welcome, April. Thank you. Bye.